Sports Radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome in, everybody, to another edition of Sports Daily. Boy, howdy, do we have a big Friday set for you. Jacob Albracht, Paul Savage in for Tommy today. Glad to have the big fella in with us. We got a lot to talk about. We got to get you a look ahead at the Final Four. Men's Final Four begins tomorrow. The women's Final Four begins tonight. The Royals continue to look pretty darn good, Paul. We'll talk about that. We'll get into what Rashee Rice's attorney had to say yesterday and begin to explore the position of wide receiver and what that might look like for the Chiefs, if this alters anything of their plans. We'll get into that. There's a lot of news and notes, some of which we hit on yesterday and some of which we can expand upon today to some degree. Voice of the K-State Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson, will join us in our next segment. Not the final time we'll talk to him, but the final time probably for a little while as we let things settle into the spring and summer. But I want to talk to Wyatt about this recruiting class for K-State. Jerome Tang is rumored for another job here, and we'll get into all of that with Wyatt. Plus, take a look. He's been following spring football certainly closer than we have, so we will let him kind of let us know what that's all looked like as well. So that's coming up in our next segment. We've got chances for you to win prizes today. We'll give away some Wichita Wind Surge vouchers today, which are 4 packs of vouchers that are good for any home game. The home opener for the Surge is tonight, season opener, and they'll play through the weekend. So chances there, or anytime this season, you'll get those. You'll get some HTO, both iced tea and coffee, in a giveaway today as well. Lots of good stuff. We'll talk some bets here with the Final Four coming and everything else. You've got Shocker Baseball this weekend. By the way, you can hear Shocker Baseball against USF starting that series tonight at 5:15 right here on KFH. A lot to do on a Friday, as there typically is, as we get ready for the weekend. Paul, good morning. How are you?
I'm exhausted after you gave that rundown. I am tired. I need to take a nap.
Busy time of year.
It is. It's that way. By the way, before we get started, real quick, my buddy Joe Rocco from Rock's Dugout and I tomorrow got to go up to a couple of sporting goods stores up in the northeast part of town. We're going to run by H2O tomorrow, if you don't mind. Or I'm sorry, HTO. I've been stuck on the same thing. I've been getting black coffee. You shamed me into black coffee about 2 or 3 months ago. I need to give me something I need to get. Tell me something that I haven't tried. You know most of my stuff. What am I getting to notice tomorrow? We're going tomorrow.
Tomorrow, this may be a good idea for tomorrow, but I would tell you today that the caramel macchiato is buy one, get one half off.
Oh,
so you can get that hot, you can get that iced. The iced is the big popular one. So like an iced caramel macchiato right now.
Let me write that down.
Is buy one, get one 50% off today only. So if you want to go in and grab one for you and a friend, that would be a good one. By the way, I got into this debate yesterday, and we'll spend do you say caramel? How do you say that word, Paul? Because I think I say it all 3 ways.
Caramel. Of course, I say Washington too, and I got catch. For years.
Washington. Yeah. Like Cape and Mount Carmel is how you say. I think it depends. Like I say caramel sometimes. My wife and I were talking about this promotion was coming up at the store, and she was like, well, how do we say it? How do you it? So whatever. Just curious.
Real quick, Jad, all right, how do you say it? Real quick. Jad, how do you say
caramel? Caramel?
What do you say?
Caramel, I think.
Well, yeah. See, Jad's right thinking American.
But what if I said like a Werther's Original? What is that made out of? Oh, that's butterscotch. Let me think of an example.
Yeah, but I think caramel too on that.
Like if I'm using it as like a singular thing, I think I say like it's a caramel.
Yeah, what?
I don't know.
You're from Texas, and you use those kind of words.
When you get put on the spot, though, you don't remember what you actually say. I think I say it like all 3 ways.
Yeah.
Anyway, caramel, whatever you want to say.
Well, sometimes
the macchiatos are buy one get one free. Buy one get one half off. Buy one get one half off.
Yeah.
today at HTO.
I
So
got
you can actually use,
Oh, can't wait.
On another day, we'll give away some opportunities to go try that for free.
Beautiful.
But you'll have that
Well,
opportunity.
I just wanted to bring it up. I was just because we seem to always get busy into this show, and then we run out of time, and I forget or something. So I just needed to knock that out, and I appreciate the tip. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a black coffee drinker, Paul. If you want to get something else, cinnamon honey macchiato, I've had a couple times. It's really good.
Okay.
Just a plain old latte is really good. They're all fine.
God, I wish I owned a coffee shop like that or a tea shop. I
still got to. You think my wife lets me get that for free, Paul? I got to pay for everything. You act like there's some perk, some inherent advantage. No way. Like I don't get away with anything.
Oh my gosh. Okay. No. Well, I believe
let's start with Rashee Rice, Paul.
All right. Right.
Only because we didn't learn a ton yesterday, but we did confirm one key piece of this entire thing, and that is that Rice was driving one of the cars. He was driving the Lamborghini.
Well,
that's the big thing that came out of the news conference. His attorney, who I believe is also a state senator, put on yesterday. And so, like, as I observe these things, and I have seen these things play out in the news world a number of times, here's what I would say I see when I see something like that. They're in damage control reputationally for Rashee Rice.
All right.
Their clear motive here, it would seem, is to point out the fact that this isn't somebody who's got a long history of doing things that he shouldn't be doing. This is a one-time mistake. He's owning that mistake. He wants to take care of the people that were affected by it, and he's cooperating with the investigation. So they're in sort of character damage control here. And I think probably there's a pretty good chance that that's the way they approach this case, depending on, if there's if there's an arrest made or anything like that. They're going to use the fact that this is a good dude and a one-time bad decision. Okay, so I think we see that in that news conference because we didn't get much information, and you're not going to, by the way. That's not unusual. We all get very impatient. There's an investigation. Those things change 1,000 times as they talk to witnesses. No attorney in the world is going to get up and talk about that till that's done, or advise his client to get up and talk about that until that's done. We might get impatient with that, but I can promise you, if you were in that same situation, you would do the same thing. So you got to have some patience in the details of this. We'll get a police report. We'll get an arresting report. If that stuff happens, then you'll have your details and then you can react to it. But until then, like, it's not unusual for this to take this amount of time. It happened not that long ago. These things take a little time, Paul, especially when it's a big crime scene like that. And there's lots of people they got to talk to. So stop with the impatience because it's not unusual. These things just take that long.
Well, the good thing is nobody was killed. I mean, that's the good
correct.
thing. There were
of course.
Now, I have a problem with the way this is being handled. Now, I don't know if I'm looking at this the correct way, but in the United States of America, we still have the right that we have to be proven guilty by a court of law. And I don't know who's advising I know who the lawyer that is defending him is a state senator, or he says something involved.
I believe so.
I believe that's the case. And I mean, we get it. But yesterday, I think it was yesterday, it wasn't the day before. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday. Yesterday, Rice made a statement. I take full responsibility. Wait a second. You got a lawyer. Let's figure this out before you're taking full responsibilities.
No, it's on. I mean, Paul, it's on camera. It's okay.
I know it is, but you don't admit anything until you get these things settled. That I'm just told. I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Okay, but now, of course he did it. But there's a law.
Well, he said yesterday. His attorney said yesterday he was driving the car.
That's right.
So yes, he did it. There's they don't see. There's no way around. He was driving the car. He was driving the car. Police know he was driving the car. Like, all of these things are. So there's nothing earth-shattering about that. It also helps their case of making sure people understand that this is not there's no history of making bad decisions. This is a bad decision the first time. That's what that will be their case here, depending on where this goes. Look, they told us yesterday that they're taking care of the victims, which means they're going to get things settled out that need to be settled out that way. And really all that matters, we look at this and we're trying to understand this from a football perspective now that we know, certainly people have been affected by this. My goodness. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example, like people being affected. I was in a wreck and my daughter, who's now 9, was 4 at the time. And it's still like she still remembers it. She still gets nervous sometimes going through stoplights. So don't downplay either. And they're not. Rice's camp is not. They made a special point to say, we know this will affect people for a long time. We want to take care of them. But they're setting everything up now to paint Rashee Rice in a good light, which is what they should do. The only question remaining, and one that they couldn't answer yesterday that we will eventually get into in this case, is why did they leave the scene? Right. That is the most outstanding now question we need answered is, okay, we understand. Good dude. Not this isn't somebody that's made a lot of mistakes, even if it's the first time mistake, whatever it is. Why did they leave? And that's what we got from a legal sense. That's really one of the main things that still remains.
No, I'm with you. With you.
And so when we look at that and just, again, understand that this is going to take a long time now, because the attorneys are well paid for a reason, and they're going to do their job, which is to minimize the damage and the harm to Rashee Rice. And this is a massive, there's like 6 vehicles involved. It's a busy highway. There's cameras, there's victims. It's just going to take a while. And you're just going to have to be okay with that. We can be angry at that all we wanted. That's everything in the legal system.
Well,
so that's going to take a while.
And there's 2 takeaways from this, in my opinion. Is one, young men, particularly young men who consider themselves, superpowers, which a lot of NFL guys, let's face it, they're unique individuals because they do things that no one else on the planet can do. So they're special super people. And a 23-year-old NFL player and a Lamborghini, probably not the best idea. Now, I get it. There's a lot of prestige in a Lamborghini. Yeah. I can't fit in one, so I'm not going to be driving one. I can barely get in my SUV. I'm just joking, but you get my point. A Lamborghini and a young man, particularly who has superpowers in the caliber of an NFL player, they just don't go together. So, you stay in your SUV. That'd be great.
There are consequences to actions, and he will suffer those consequences to some degree. Right. Paul, I will always try, in situations where good people make bad decisions, which is what this appears to be, I would just ask, how many bad decisions did you make when you were 23 years old?
I don't even want to get into it because it was a bunch.
And you didn't have, millions of dollars to help you make those bad decisions.
No, that's right.
I let that sort itself out. He'll suffer the consequences he needs to. And then there's a football piece to it too. So what do the Chiefs do at wide receiver? We'll get into that a little later in the hour. We are going to take a break because we do want to talk to Wyatt Thompson a little bit here. The voice of the K-State Wildcats. Jerome Tang's name being floated around Arkansas. These jobs, there's a sort of domino effect. I wonder what Wyatt's hearing there on campus, and I want to get his take on the roster there in basketball and also a brief check-in on spring football. So we'll do all that. Voice of the Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson joining us next. Want to remind you that mornings at KFH here, the staff enjoys a great cup of coffee from Prairie Fire Coffee.
Yes,
Paul's got
do.
his
I got it right
black,
here, baby.
I would hope.
Right here.
Fueling us up, getting us ready for a busy Friday. We'll come back. Wyatt Thompson joins us on the show next.
Inside information on Kansas State. Let's go now to the voice of the Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson.
All right, good to have Wyatt Thompson back in here with us. Jacob Albracht, Paul Savage with you on this Friday edition of Sports Daily. Have enjoyed all season our visits with Wyatt, which have cooled a little bit as seasons have come to an end. Wyatt, how have things been for you? Settling in a little bit?
Yeah, catching up some, taking part in watching a lot of spring football and those kind of things. I've actually done some baseball broadcasts for the first time in a while this spring, filling in for Brian. He had me do while he was on the road with his basketball team a couple of different times. So it's been, catch up mode, but good. I've enjoyed the spring season. I'm sure you'll ask a lot about the spring season, but I think it's gone really well so far. And they've got a practice tomorrow, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week to wrap up.
Yeah, let's talk a little spring football in just a minute, Wyatt, but let's start with the juicy stuff here. We knew this offseason would be a little uneasy with Jerome Tang. There was animosity at one point. The situation with Naquan Tomlin got a little bit messy there. We knew it would be a cycle that would make K-State fans nervous. A couple of big jobs have come open, Michigan, Louisville, not a lot of movement, not a lot of chatter. Then USC comes open, therefore Arkansas comes open. And Arkansas is the first one to me that's like, maybe that would be interesting. What indication have you gotten? Because they just recruited a high-level transfer guy. So that is probably a promising sign, but Arkansas is a good gig. And I don't know how much of that unease has carried and spilled into the offseason, but what sense do you get on Jerome Tang's happiness and security there in Manhattan?
Well, I think from the happiness and security part, for the most part, things are good. I mean, yeah, there was the issue with Naquan, and there was some consternation there. I'm not going to deny that. I think everybody understands that. But I think Coach Tang, moved his family here. I think he, and I mean his parents. I mean, he moved his family first and then his parents after that. And I think he enjoys working here and loves the Big 12 and all of those kind of things. But when you're good at what you do, people are going to notice. And I think that's probably the case in some of these. And when you have those types of openings, whether it be a USC or a program in the SEC, you'd certainly, have some worry about it to a degree. I know his name is out there at Arkansas. So is Chris Beard. So is Will Wade. I mean, there are some very fine coaches out there that they're talking about, but I don't have a lot of worry at the moment, but you know how those things go. It can change in a heartbeat sometimes, and does.
Wyatt, so sort of on that then, I don't know how this is all weird with the transfer portal, because you go and you get Doug McDaniel, who is a high-level player. It fits an immediate need. When you're talking to these players, and this has always been a problem in recruiting, right? You might, coaches recruit in players and then could step out. But I think, what Jerome Tang says to people probably, if you're rating it on a scale of 1 to 10 versus some of his peers historically, probably does hold a little more value. When I think that kind of stuff is an indicator too. Let me just simplify it this way. I don't think Jerome Tang's leaving for Arkansas. I do think Arkansas will be interested in Jerome Tang. Is that fair? Is that presumptuous too much? Is it too much to say I don't think he's going to go? Should we be more nervous than that?
I don't think so. I'll be honest with you, but I'm kind of with you on this one. I'm not saying he wouldn't have any interest, and you know what? Sometimes you have to listen. That's just part of the game. But I think that, and I guess we've kind of touched on this, but I'll be repetitive here. I think he likes what is happening here. I think he likes the support he is getting for the most part. I know he loves working with this athletic director, Gene Taylor, who's fantastic with coaches. There's a lot of upside here. People care about basketball here. Not that they don't there. I don't mean it that way, but I just think that he sees a lot of potential here with a crazed, I'll say, fan base that loves basketball and loves athletics and loves K-State, period. and I think he likes that. And again, will they listen if that it comes to that? I think you probably would say sure, but I'm not that concerned about it today. Could that change? Sure, but I'm like you. I think all things being equal, he would stay.
They have a good group, a talented group of young players coming back in. And before we get to football, I do want to talk about this roster because I'm still a little confused by it. We know that Doug McDaniel would slot in as a starter, certainly. Day Ames, we assume, will slot in as a starter. Arthur Kaluma, maybe Gasson. We know they have a talented freshman coming in Castillo, and they had a talented freshman class. I would say they are not there yet and probably not close. But what I don't have a good sense of is what they think they still need. Do they need depth?
Yeah.
Do they need big time starter minutes? What sense do you get of where this roster sits and what it still needs to do to be ready for next season?
Well, I think your feel is a good one, honestly. And I guess I would try to answer the question this way. I think they have already attacked their absolute biggest need with the McDaniel kid. He is a high-level point guard who can do so many things. I can even almost recite most of his numbers off the top of my head or very, very close. We're talking about a 16-point-a-game guy, 10 points a game in the Big Ten, about 3.5 rebounds, about 4.5 assists, assist-to-turnover ratio 122 to 56. That all sounds pretty good, doesn't it? He's a 38% three-point shooter, very electric with the ball in his hands. That's exactly what they needed last year. I think that particular position, whether he plays some off the ball or he's specifically a point guard, same with Day, same with David Castillo. I think you can safely assume that those guys are going to probably get minutes at those two positions. So I think you're in pretty good shape there. If Kaluma comes back, and I believe there's a good chance that he will, and the same with Gasson, I think you're in pretty good shape there. Getting right down to brass tacks, I think they would like another shooter, a wing type player, and then probably an athletic big man who can bring them some things that they will not have with Jarrell Colbert making the decision to get into the portal. And I think they can find that. It's not the easiest thing in the world to find good quality big men, but I know they're interested in several. I think they've actually probably talked to one or two, if not more. So is there work to be done? Yeah, but I think they knew that going in, and then when you have a couple of guys get into the portal, then there basically were 5 spots, and now with McDaniel there are 4. So certainly work to do. And again, that's kind of just where it sits today. Things are a little bit, they can change, but I think for the most part, I would tell you that they would probably say they would love to have a wing who can shoot it, and an athletic big man, or even a couple. Hey, everybody wants depth, right? But when you get right down to it, it's probably going to be a 8-9 man rotation most of the time at these kind of schools.
Well, you know what? If you don't mind, I'd like to move over to a football just for a minute. You've got spring football winding down. I think there's 4 or 5 sessions left, and I'm not sure how many, but you're winding down. And a lot of observations for K-State football, at least this spring, is that there is a lot of depth, probably more depth at K-State at certain positions, key positions, safeties, defensive ends. There's several competing for linebacker positions. Wyatt, talk a little about depth for K-State, what you're seeing out of the depth situation, and what positive effect having great depth at some of these positions means for the Wildcats going into the fall.
Well, that's a great thought there, Paul. And I really do think that I'd start on the defensive side here for just a second.
Okay.
And just kind of going level by level. I think you're on it there a little bit with some of the depth. And I'll give you an example with the defensive line to start with. Cody Stufflebean decided to come back. Brendan Mott decided to come back. Those 2 guys have played a lot of football here, and they're pretty darn good quality players. And then you look at guys like Chidi Obiizor, Travis Bates, a transfer from Austin P, Toby Osunsami from Wichita East, Ryan Davis, Donovan Ryman, Jordan Allen. All of those guys are good football players, and it's kind of their time to get into the mix, and they are doing so. I was so excited to hear on Wednesday Joe Klanderman, the defensive coordinator, talk about those guys, and he said to have Jordan Allen, Ryan Davis in that one class, it's great to get one, but it's wonderful to get two or three, and that's kind of what they've done. They are fortunate at the linebacker position to have a lot of bodies because they've moved Cam Salas basically from a safety position to a linebacker, and that just augments what they have, coming back with Des Purnell, and it was such a monster thing to have Austin Moore come back, but Romaine has played some football. He comes back from injury. Same with Jake Clifton. Same with Terry Kirksey. Same with Asa Newsome. That's a lot of names for those three spots. And then in the secondary, I think maybe they're as deep there as they've been in a while. And I love what I would call their starting group, at least right now, because you've got both of your corners back in Keenan Garber and Jacob Parrish. BJ Payne's a heck of a good player. Nikendre Steiger's a really good player, but then I could name a ton of guys that they really, really like that are also probably in the mood to help. And that would be like a Jordan Riley from Ball State and those kind of guys, Dante Thomas from Southwest Mississippi Community College, but also Tyler Nellam wasn't a factor last year, the transfer from SEMO. He was dinged up from the time he got here and never really got on track. And I think he'll be a factor this time. So Justice James is another one. Don't want to name the whole roster here, but you get the point. I'm naming a lot of guys, and they're excited about that. Yeah.
On the other side of the ball, Wyatt, I think the question everyone wants to know is the progression of Avery Johnson. I would ask you that. How has he looked? And then I'd also sort of follow it up with how have the guys he's going to throw the ball to next year looked in camp?
Well, that's the real question, isn't it? Because they need those guys to step up. How has Avery looked? We'll start there. I think he's done a really nice job. I look back at his numbers in the bowl game. He's 14 of 31 as an example, right off the top of my head. Is that great? No, but you remember how he played. He also ran the ball, was productive, but when he needed to throw it away and get out of harm's way, he did. And I think that part of, just learning and growing, he continues to make strides there. He's a little bit bigger and stronger, which certainly helps him. I think all of us see the skill set, but also I say this a lot in these types of interviews, that just his football awareness and he's a football junkie, man. The coaches, everybody, I had a terrific conversation with Matt Wells, who's his position coach, a few days ago prior to a practice during their stretch. And, he talked about how, even when he first got here, and was in and out of town traveling and recruiting and that Avery would work around his schedule to come in and watch tape and talk and those kind of things. That's how you get better. The guys around him at the receiver positions, and I'll include the tight ends with this. I know we lose Ben Sennett, and that's a monster loss, but they're really excited about that group of young guys too, headed by Garrett Oakley. I think they feel like Oakley can be a really, really fine player here, among others. But I do like, I think everybody saw at the end of last year, Jace Brown, what he was capable of doing. I hope that he can take another step forward because he's got terrific speed and he's got some toughness to him. The one guy that's been fun for me to watch this spring is Dante Cephas, the transfer from Penn State. I think he is a guy who can really help. I think they're hoping that a Trey Spivey, who redshirted a year ago, good size, good athleticism, can get into the mix. So there are guys, and I probably shouldn't leave Sterling Lockett out. He's playing some in the slot. He's probably going to be a guy who could return punts. That's a familiar name with K-State football fans. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, have even half the career his brother had, and they'll be okay. Well, Wyatt, we appreciate it. We'll continue there. I'm sure there will be things to talk about as we make our way through the off season, but we'll get with you in those instances. Can't tell you how much we've appreciated your visits all season long, how much we look forward to those visits as we get ready for next season in a football season that is just going to be incredible in the state of Kansas on a couple of different fronts. So we're looking forward to that. We appreciate your time and your insight always. We'll be checking back in with you. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon. But thank you again for the interviews all season long, Wyatt, and look forward to a peaceful summer for you.
Well, you're very kind. And I've enjoyed it too. Excuse me. I want you to know that. I love talking K-State. Good to be with you guys each and every week. And holler when you need me, and we'll talk to you again soon.
There goes Wyatt Thompson, the voice of the K-State Wildcats, KFH, the home of K-State athletics. We always look forward to these, and we'll do it again soon. There'll be other things to check in on, so we'll get Wyatt in. Hey, on the way out, let's give away those Win Surge vouchers. Opening day. Good. It's opening night, the home opener. Here we go. Minor League Baseball's back in Wichita at Riverfront Stadium. A 4-pack of tickets to an opening weekend game or really any home game. You pick by calling in now and being the first caller at 869-1240. Jad will get us a winner. We'll come back. We'll dig into that wide receiver question for the Kansas City Chiefs when we return and wrap up hour number 1 of Sports Daily on a Friday. All right. Congratulations to Shannon for winning our Wind Surge vouchers. Those are good for any Wichita Wind Surge home game. I want to tell you that this portion of the program is brought to you by Crestview Country Club. Great time to get out, play a little golf, perhaps. It's the Masters coming up. They'll have all kinds of activities going on for the Masters. This is absolutely golf weather. Crestview's got you covered on 2 courses, south and north. I'm going to try and sneak out to the range today, start to get things cooking, get things in the groove again a little bit, and then maybe I'll make my way. I kind of start out at the south course there until I at least get somewhat respectability, and then try to flip over and tackle the north. But it is a good day to get out and golf. Crestview's got you covered. They got 2 driving ranges, actually, that you can get access to there, and 2 different golf courses, of course, and they'll have all kinds of fun stuff coming up for the Masters. So give them a call, check it out, and see what they've got ready for you there today. All right, Paul, let's talk about this wide receiver thing.
All right,
with the
let's do
Chiefs.
it.
So they could draft a receiver where they sit. They could trade up to draft a receiver. They probably need a plan in place of some missed time from Rashee Rice. Maybe that doesn't happen. I think there's more likely a chance he misses some time than he doesn't due to a suspension or whatever else. I would say that my preferred path for them would be to take some of the $15 million in cap space that they now have and go just bring in another good veteran receiver as the backup plan. Look, if a really talented receiver falls into their lap in the draft, that's great. But they have invested a lot at that position.
Mm-hmm.
They went out and they got Hollywood Brown. I would betcha, as much as we may be sick of Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, that they're not ready to be done with Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney because they've got a lot invested in those players. They've got Watson back. I think the best way to approach it for them would be to continue to prioritize left tackle and then just go spend a little of that $15 million you've still got sitting there and go get one of these veteran receivers out there to be your backup plan.
Right.
That's how I would do it, I think.
Well, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And really and truly, I want to agree with you. And one caveat would be, the one receiver that I have confidence in it's going to be a big deal and it's going to a no-brainer is Marvin Harrison Jr. That's the one guy. But I don't know that the Chiefs want to trade up that far, pay whatever it would take.
Well, no, they can't.
They can't.
They won't be able to.
So with that being said, I'm with you on a veteran more than maybe even trading up for draft. You take what's there. Sometimes it's hard to tell with receivers just how great they'll be. Sometimes with rookies, it is a gamble. Like I say, Marvin Harrison Jr. to me is the one sure shot receiver, and even that, who knows if he's going to be as good as
receivers have never been better as rookies, Paul. There's never been as big an emphasis at the prep level to develop them. There's never been a better time to come into the league and immediately have an impact as a receiver. I don't have any doubt that the receivers, a lot of them that are taken early, are going to be good. I just don't know that it's as big a need as it's being built up because of the development of Rashee Rice. And I do think there is a general understatement of how big an impact Hollywood Brown could have here in Kansas City if he's healthy. Mm-hmm. I just, like, if you told me the receivers are going to be Rice, Kelsey, and Hollywood Brown, I would say that's a great wide receiver room, right? Rice's uncertainty now probably builds a little pressure to add a piece to it. I just don't know that it needs to be. They just, for me, I would rather them be aggressive for left tackle, or even in the draft. Like, if I'm just like ranking positions, I would sort of reset and replace corner now without L'Jarius Sneed there before I'd put a receiver. And it's largely due to the receivers that are still out there. I mean, look, you could go find right now, they got $15 million to spend.
All right.
You could go, I'll give you a list of guys that I would be perfectly comfortable with stepping in to help them in case there's any suspension for Rashee Rice.
Do it.
I'd be fine with Allen Robinson.
Okay.
I'd be fine with Tyler Boyd.
All right.
I'd be fine with DJ Chark. I'd be fine with with Sterling Shepard, who's injured but really good, maybe taking a little injury risk there. But I'd be fine with that. I would be fine with Hunter Renfrow as a possession guy to help you get through there.
I like that one.
I mean, there are a lot of them out there right now that sort of fit, and those guys might fit a need even if Rashee Rice doesn't serve any sort of suspension. I mean, there are guys that have been good receivers in this league who might be a little older, but could still give the Chiefs what they need on a short-term basis or even for the full season. And Rashee Rice is back and they just become a part of the room. So I think there are a lot of good players still out there. And for them, if we're talking about what makes this team the best in the short term and the long term, they don't have really a left tackle right now, Paul. So that to me is a glaring need. And then when L'Jarius Sneed is gone, he was arguably the best player on that defense last year. Mm-hmm. And I think a great defense is still a big part of what they want to do. So replacing him is still, and maybe they can do that internally, but you've got plenty of needs there that I just don't see moving to get it. Now, again, drafts are weird. And if somebody's falling and they see an opportunity, that's one thing, but to be overly aggressive and to walk in the door saying, we got to come away with a receiver on day one, I don't think that's necessary.
Mm-hmm. Well, I need to be clear. You're not writing off Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore. I don't think that's what you're not writing them off.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not writing them off.
Okay.
I'm not counting on anything either.
Okay. I got you. So
I'll tell you right now, the Chiefs aren't going to write them off. They invested too much in them to not continue to try to develop.
Well, that's
guys.
exactly right. No. You're right on that. I'm just asking you from where you sit right now as a fan or as a commentator on this radio show.
Fans, I think are ready, and I understand that.
Okay.
As an observer and trying to give an honest take and analyze it, I would say you'd be crazy to just totally give up right now on Toney, who we know is talented after the catch. We saw that in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. He just can't get out of his own way. Sky Moore, I'm honestly not sure. I thought Sky Moore was going to be good. So, does something need to click, or is it sort of like McCole Hardman? It's just he's not as good as you'd like him to be. I don't know, but there's no need for them to give up on those guys. They're cheap on contract players. They're fine. They don't really cost you anything. So as an analyst, I would say, yeah, you don't need to give up on anything.
Right.
But you also don't count on anything because they've never really given you anything consistently. Right. So, we'll see on that. What I don't think you do if you're the Chiefs is walk into next season, and they haven't because they went out and they got Hollywood Brown. None of this would really be a conversation if Rashee Rice wasn't potentially facing some sort of punishment from the league, depending on how this legal thing works out on the car crash. But because that's there, if they were already on the fence about bringing in another veteran, I think now's the time to bring in another veteran. Right. And they can probably afford to wait on that. I don't think they necessarily have to do that before the draft. I think they can easily do that after the draft. I think they're in the same boat at left tackle. I think they're going to be patient here because they want to see what shakes out of the draft and then save that. They have $15 million. They'll have to spend some of that on the draft, but they're going to have enough money to bring in one or two impactful free agents. I think they're just fine waiting until after the draft to do that because you do want to see how it shakes out. Somebody might fall in your lap.
Well, with what's going on with Rashee Rice, I mean, I look at this and I think to myself, what is the legal system going to do with Rashee Rice? I mean,
well, you got to start there.
We know that, at least we assume that the NFL is going to do something, but we're still not even sure where the legal system is going to go. With this.
It could take long enough that it doesn't impact next season.
It could.
I mean, that's possible.
That's possible.
I mean, this is a bit. It's a pretty intricate, legal situation that they'll have to work out. Yeah. All right, that's hour number one. Again, congratulations to Shannon for winning the WinSurge vouchers. We're going to come back, and we will have lots for you in the second hour, including a lot of college basketball talk. There's a lot of other little odds and ends in the sports world. I do want to get Paul's take on this proposed college football super league. We talked a little about that yesterday, but Paul and I always like to talk about those sorts of things. We'll do that as well in the second hour. Jacob Albracht here, Paul Savage in for Tommy today. Jad producing for us. We'll get you another giveaway in the second hour as well for some HGOT and coffee. Stick with us. Sports Daily, hour number 2, starting next.
from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
ESPN Bets ready to take you through all the huge sports moments this spring. The exclusive sports book of ESPN has it all, including exclusive offers and promotions from Scott Van Pelt and Stephen A. Smith. From the playoff intensity to getting on the links and out to the ballpark, there's no better time to be sports fans. Sign up today, and new users get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet. Download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details. Let's talk a little bet to the Final Four here real quick, Paul. We've got it ready to roll. We've got the women starting tonight. You have the two semifinal games, the Final Four. North Carolina State, 11.5-point underdogs to South Carolina. Iowa, 2.5-point favorites over UConn. You're looking at these, Paul. I'm over at ESPN Bet checking the lines right now. You have a take on these two. Which way are you leaning on those spreads?
You know, I've got to confess, North Carolina State is a fascinating story, both on the men's side and the women's side. And yet, women's basketball is still one of those, you know, who you are matters. UConn, that matters. South Carolina, that matters. And so you look at Iowa, at least in the past few years with Kate and Clark, that matters. So I think, you know, the Cinderella story will probably come to an end tonight. That game is, I believe, at 7:00 Wichita time. And I believe that's probably going to be
6:00. I think it's 6 and 8:30.
I'm sorry about that. But anyway, so I'm looking at that, but I'm finding women's basketball very, very fascinating this year. Obviously, it's driven by Caitlin Clark and Iowa and that kind of thing. But you have individuals where basically you're looking at really great stars in terms of Reese, of Clark.
Paul, you're stalling right now. Who's going to win these games? You're stalling.
South Carolina. I mean, it's
okay.
Either
are they covering 11.5 points for you?
I think they do. Don't you? I mean,
yeah,
they're really.
I agree.
11.
I'm taking South Carolina minus 11.5. And Paul, I think I'm taking UConn plus 2.5.
Well, I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, I think that's more of a toss-up. Well, obviously with the point spread, it is more of a toss-up. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that I find North Carolina State a fascinating story in basketball this year. I mean, it's a good story. It's a really
South Carolina's good. I think because of, you know, Clark and Reese and Beckers, we forget that South Carolina has been the best team. Right. South Carolina is incredible as a team. And I think they're my pick there. And I'll take the UConn women. Over on the men's side, Paul, on the lines, you've got Purdue 9.5-point favorites. You've got UConn 11.5-point favorites. I'm going to take NC State in those points tomorrow. That game tips at 5:09.
Right.
And then I'm going to well, let me look at it this way. So I would bet UConn's line there, but I may also sprinkle in that game the over 160.5. So if I'm just looking at the spreads, I'm going to take NC State in the points. I'm going to lay the points with UConn. And then I am interested in over 160.5 there for that Alabama UConn game. Anything on the men's side from a betting perspective that you like?
Well, I mean, Zach Edey makes things very, very interesting. And of course, you know, there are some really fascinating stories with regards to big men in the Final Four. UConn's got a good one. You know, I'll tell you what, if you've watched UConn, I didn't have them in my Final Four. What do I know about college basketball? Obviously not much. I didn't have UConn in my Final Four. I have misjudged just how good this team is. Now, part of that is the fact that I'm not sure that I got to watch them as much as I did other teams. That's why I had 3 Big 12 teams in my Final Four. And I think that was just sort of a product of watching Big 12 basketball so much. But I'll tell you what, UConn to win a second straight national title. I'll tell you what, Jacob, that's a tough bet not to take because UConn's playing as well as anybody. Now, what is the they've had some trouble getting
beat everybody badly. That's the
yeah. and they've had some trouble getting to the site to play this game, and they're getting in late. I don't know what that does to them. I've got a feeling not much. But boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what, if you're betting, you look at those lines, UConn is still a tough team not to take because they're playing so well. They are playing lights out. And basically, they're just having their way with whoever they play. It's not, a lot of these games aren't even close.
Yeah, they have been that way now for 2 years. That's the other part of it. Anyway,
crazy.
those lines over at ESPN Bet, we'll probably get more into the basketball later, but we need to pivot here, Paul, because
right.
We just got done talking to Wyatt Thompson about the Jerome Tang thing. I told you I didn't think he was probably going to go to Arkansas, but in the last 10 minutes or so, the Manhattan Mercury reporting that Coach Tang is one of 2 finalists for the Arkansas job, and they're citing sources close to their situation, their sources here. The other finalists believed to be Ole Miss's Chris Beard, who just got to Ole Miss. Same sources tell the Mercury that Tang has either met with officials from Arkansas or will be meeting with them while attending the Final Four in Phoenix.
That's very interesting.
Look, K-State fans aren't going to want to hear this, but
No,
Arkansas is a really good. Arkansas is a really good job. It's not like some of the jobs that have come open that people have said, I wonder about Tang, haven't made sense to me. USC never made sense.
No.
Jerome Tang wears his faith and all this stuff on a sleeve. I don't think that going out to, LA would have been the best fit for that. Arkansas has the fan base he would desire. It's it's not Big 12, which I do think matters. They'll pay him probably. They'd obviously have to pay him more than K-State is, and K-State has paid him well. I think regionally it would make some sense. Just go look at Razorback attendance. It is a good job, and it's a better job than people think it is. Is it a better job than K-State? I think I would probably call it lateral, Paul. I think lateral is fair. I think they're both great jobs, but the elephant in the room is this relationship with Linton, which Tim Fitzgerald a long time ago said that was contentious.
Right.
That situation was bad, and he took a lot of heat for saying that. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell you right now, if Jerome Tang leaves K-State for Arkansas, it's because of the Naquan Tomlin situation and how that played out with Linton. Had that not happened, I would tell you that Jerome Tang's not leaving for Arkansas. If he goes to Arkansas, that you can look squarely at that, and that is going to be a hot mess in Manhattan with that president, because I don't think that Jerome Tang was going to leave Kansas State, and he may not. Again, I predicted he wouldn't, but it certainly appears based on now some actual reporting that there is interest, and there is interest on both sides, and that's where these things get real dangerous, Paul.
Right.
When you can start to dangle things and show the flash and do all that stuff. And, the future in the SEC is going to be bright, and there's going to be big money in the SEC and all of those things. Is it a better league than the Big 12? No, it isn't. Is it a better fit than Manhattan? I don't think it is. But now you've got this other piece. Yikes. If that happens, they're going to be lined up with pitchforks tomorrow.
Right. Well, the SEC is not as good as the Big 12 right now. But that's right now. I mean, we all know that these things are.
It won't be. There's not going to be a future in which it's better than the Big 12.
I don't know.
The Big 12 is about to add Arizona. You're going to have.
Well, okay.
I mean,
yeah, you're right on that. But here's the one thing. We all know that Arkansas could be a darn good job. And they're going to pay. I mean, what are they? 15, 18,000, something like that in that big barn they play in. And
I
they
think they can put 20 in there.
Can they put 20?
I'll look it up.
Okay, but it's going to be that kind of venue. And Coach Richardson, Coach Richardson, back in the day, has proven that Arkansas can be a force. They can be a force in the national powers when it comes to basketball. It can be more than just a football school, which I'm not sure it's been a football. And I hate to say that. I coached with Coach Pittman at Hutchinson Community College back in the day. I love Arkansas football because my buddy Coach Pittman is the head coach there, and he's struggling with football in the SEC. I'll tell you what, basketball at Arkansas could be really, really, really successful. And I look at that and I think to myself, that is a job where you can really climb the ladder, in the NCAA. You can, and let's face it, you're going to be competing with Kentucky, maybe with a guy like Tang and a job like Arkansas. You're going to be looking to compete for SEC championships with Kentucky, throw in LSU, throw in Alabama, throw in whoever's going to be hot that year. Florida has won national championships. It's a good basketball conference. But I'll tell you what, as Coach Richardson has proved, you can be successful at Arkansas, Jacob.
But it's so Bud Walton Arena there. It holds 20,000 people.
There you go. I thought it was 18, but I was wrong. There you go.
They put over 20,000 in there for that game against Duke last year, and it's I think it's time to sweat a little bit. And we just had Wyatt Thompson in, and I told you I didn't think he was going to go, but boy, if he's a finalist and at least entertaining the conversations, and it's down to 2, and he's meeting with I think it's time to sweat a little bit for K-State fans.
Right.
And I thought Arkansas was dangerous. And I told you this yesterday. I've thought that Arkansas was dangerous in all of this, certainly. But I'd be sweating because I don't know, this isn't just a leverage thing, right? It's not like that Arkansas is going to want him and K-State's going to swoop in with some, extension. The buyouts at $6 million. I don't think Arkansas cares about a $6 million buyout.
All right.
So right now, Tang is at 7 years, $23.1 million. Big raise, over $3 million a year. So if Arkansas comes in, beats that, good fit, he likes the place, he likes the city. I don't know. I don't know what'll happen here, Paul, but I can tell you that if he goes, I think it would. I don't think it's. I think it's because there's a little soured relationship there.
All right.
Otherwise, if that dynamic didn't exist in all this, I don't think this is the job that you worry about. Only because it's seemingly lateral. Again, I don't know
about lateral.
Arkansas.
I'm not sure that it's totally lateral. Is it?
I think for Jerome Tang it is.
Oh, I got you.
Because I think he loves the Big 12.
No,
I truly do.
I see what you mean.
I truly do think he loves Manhattan and the culture there.
Yeah.
I think he is great with all those things, and that's why it's always seemed like such a perfect fit for him, because it's a place where they do embrace his faith being a big part of what he does, and his attitude, and how much emphasis he puts on character and those types of things. And it's real. It's one of the reasons, like, that genuine stuff is one of the reasons we've all gravitated to him, I think.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm curious as to how you would answer this question. And the question that I have for you is, Jerome Tang, where does he have a better chance to win a national championship? Kansas State or Arkansas? And that's a legitimate question. I think he's got to ask himself.
I think the same. I think it's the same.
Okay.
I mean, Arkansas has had a ton of success in the last few years. So has K-State with Tang. I think equal. I mean, the thing is now with the transfer portal, it matters less. Like you're going to be able. The players that want to play for Tang are going to play for him, whether he's at Kansas State or he's at Arkansas.
All right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that matters for his success. I think it's honestly equal. And if we really got into the weeds on this, I think it will be easier to reach the NCAA tournament at Arkansas than it will be at Kansas State, because the Big 12 is so loaded. I don't know that the committee is going to start taking 11 teams out of one league. So in that sense, it will be easier to finish near the top of the SEC than it will be to finish near the top of the Big 12 right now.
Right. Permission to ask another question. I can't believe I'm going to ask this question because of the way that. Permission to ask one more question that may put you on the spot.
Okay.
Which school, K-State or Arkansas, has the best possibilities of recruiting kids with more NIL, which we all know is making a huge difference as to the quality
for basketball? I don't know.
Basketball,
I don't know.
Well, I think it would be Arkansas, wouldn't it? I mean, it's a singular.
I'm not sure.
Big time conference school in one state.
Yeah.
People at
Then they'll
Arkansas
have more
are
money.
rabid. I mean, it's just okay.
Yeah, they'll have more money coming in, but they got to spend a whole lot of money on football too. So it's really about how they allocate their funds, and I don't know the answer to that. I really don't.
Okay.
Like
I was just asking. I don't know either.
K-State does a great job in the NIL space, from what we can tell. I honestly, I don't know how much Arkansas allocates to basketball versus football. I don't know how much K-State allocates to basketball versus football. So I think that's an impossible question to answer, and we would only be guessing to answer it. I don't have a good answer there.
Right.
I think that Jerome Tang will be in the mix for the exact same players, whether he's in Manhattan or he's in Fayetteville. I think he'll be. I think the same players will be. It'll be the exact same. We're seeing now with this, and I get it. Like, if you're in the portal, what matters more than anything else is honestly like the coach and the system you're going to play in. So I don't think if you're Doug McDaniel, it's a sell of come play at Kansas State or come play at Arkansas. It's a sell of come play for Jerome Tang.
I got you. I got
what situation exists on his roster that you could either help or what role you might have. So again, I keep calling it lateral, and this is why Arkansas yesterday and the day before kind of made us pause. Like, that's a little bit concerning, is because it's lateral in like every way. It's a similar part of the country as far as the things that people value. And the things that matter to Jerome Tang off the court.
Right.
It is a similar place as far as crazy fan base, history of the program. It's a similar place in the sense that I think he's going to have probably about the same chance to win a national championship at either place, quite frankly.
Right.
And again, when you consider all those things and how much he has genuinely appeared to enjoy Manhattan, if he were to leave for a job that in almost every way seems lateral, that's a mess. That is a mess for administration.
Right. And of course you look at, but you come back to and you've brought up the Big 12, and you brought up, the difficulty of playing. And of course, just a minute ago, you brought up, and I tended to forget about it, but I knew it was coming, Arizona. That's a dang good basketball program. Another one. Arizona at any given year is capable of winning a national championship. I know you would agree with that. And so I look at Coach Tang and I think to myself, it'd be easier to have more success in the SEC. Let's face it, the SEC is not quite as good top to bottom as the Big 12 because, we thought at one point, the Big 12 this year would get as many as 10 teams. It didn't happen, but we had talked about the possibility.
But it should.
Well, it should.
But will it?
Yeah, but will it? And so I look at the opportunities. I give Arkansas just a slight advantage in some of these other situations when you look at overall basketball location, how much money might be available for, and like you say, Arkansas football. On the other hand, a negative for Arkansas the basketball program there would be, let's face it, Arkansas football does take a lot of the oxygen out of the room. K-State football takes oxygen, but it's not choking off basketball the way Arkansas football is. Football in Arkansas at the university level that's a unique situation where football and those that play it are almost a godlike religious experience. You know what I'm talking about? So all I'm saying is I think there are some advantages of going to Arkansas, but I think there's also some advantages to staying at K-State. I just don't know which one outweighs the other.
I don't think they do. Again, I don't think one outweighs the other.
Right.
Now, there's
Fair
always
enough.
like tiny little. There are tiny little reasons why something might outweigh the other. I would say this: if it's as simple as Arkansas choosing Tang over Beard, I'd be pretty worried if I were a K-State fan. I think that clearly there is some fracture in the relationship between Tang and power brokers there on campus. Maybe it's the president, whatever you want to read into all of that. K-State would, does K-State even get an opportunity here to raise the ante? Like if Arkansas comes in and says, we'll give you a raise, I mean, does K-State get the chance to then re-raise basically, which we've seen numerous times for coaches? I watched Alabama's athletic director get off a private plane with an essential bag of money for Greg Marshall. And then in the last minute, when it looked like that was going to happen, Wichita State came back. I said before, the greatest achievement of Darren Boatwright's administration there was raising the funds and securing that to make Marshall one of the 5 highest paid coaches in basketball.
That's right.
So will K-State get that opportunity? Will Gene Taylor get that same opportunity? Or has this been a foregone conclusion the whole time, which was alluded to way earlier in the offseason by Tim Fitzgerald? We're about to find out because this is going to happen quick.
It is.
If again, the reason this is now front and center for us today, the Manhattan Mercury, the paper there, it's being reported that he's one of 2 finalists for that job, and he's going to meet with Arkansas. Either he already has or he's going to meet with them at the Final Four this weekend. So we'll keep you apprised.
Yeah. We'll know by the middle of next week, won't we? I believe it'll be going.
We'll know probably before the end of this weekend. I would imagine. I think it'll go
fast.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll go fast.
I got you.
I think it'll go fast.
All right.
Want to remind you that all of these March Madness games, we've been talking college hoops, Westwood One March Madness games are available all tournament long on the Odyssey app. So if you can't listen to them, if you're not watching, you can always tune into that app and catch them that way. We'll be back. More Sports Daily right after this.
97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Who makes your first impression all it can be? Pave the way.
Are you looking to pave your parking lot or driveway but aren't sure who to call? Trust the professionals at Pave the Way. They're the leaders in the pavement industry and do the job right at a price that won't break the bank. Call 316-990-5855 today for a fast free estimate. You'll be glad you did.
Pave the way. Kicking asphalt every day.
Make your money go further at Crazy G's Furniture and Sleep Shop with 2 convenient locations to serve you. Open 7 days a week, east at 1026 South Oliver, west at 604 North Tyler. Rugs starting at $39, mattresses just $99, bunk beds only $2.99, sofa and love seats from $7.99. Delivery set up and special financing available with no credit needed and instant approvals. Wichita's favorite furniture and mattress store for 3 generations and counting. Nobody sells beds for less than Crazy J's.
Hi, I'm Joshua Sikora, lead CPA for Market Tax Services right here in Wichita, Kansas. If you have tax needs this year, let our team assist you. Our team of CPAs, tax preparers, and enrolled agents are accepting documents and clients now. But you will need to reach out soon as our availability is limited.
Market Tax Services. Our 2 locations are downtown on Main and Waterman or West Wichita on Tyler Road. Get started by calling 316-803-1040 or visiting markettaxservices.com.
Maximum Outdoor Equipment and Service is growing and ready for mowing season. Come see our new location at 21st and Andover Road or visit Kellogg and West Street. Mowing season is easier with the productivity of a Walker mower from Maximum Outdoor. Walker mower's compact design for easy maneuvering, out front deck for trimming, and variety of attachments helps maintain a healthy lawn. Test drive a Walker mower at Maximum Outdoor's newest location, south of 21st and Andover Road, or south of Kellogg on West Street, or MaximumOutdoor.com.
Maximum Outdoor Equipment.
Hello, I'm Derek of Derek's Deals. Derek's Deals is the local leader in liquidated merchandise pallets. We can help you become a reseller. This is a great way to make extra money by reselling merchandise on eBay or Amazon, flea markets, garage sales, or Facebook Marketplace. Derek's Deals is open to the public. We have new pallets weekly. Pallets range in size and price, and you get to choose your pallet. No appointment necessary. Open Fridays 12 to 6 and Saturdays 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Come by 1518 East Lewis. Find us on Facebook or at Derek'sDealsICT.com.
Baseball fans, support your hometown Shockers this spring. With new head coach Brian Green, the Shockers are playing an exciting brand of baseball, and new enhancements to the outfield experience on Coleman Hill at X Stadium have turned each game into a can't-miss event. Bring in a cooler filled with your own food and beverages out to Coleman Hill for a fun and cheap outing at the ballpark. Select alcoholic beverages are permitted. Restrictions apply, and fans must be 21 to drink. View upcoming games and grab your tickets today. Visit GoShockers.com/tickets or call 316-978-FANS.
Hey, it's Jim Castor from Cash the Ticket. Tourney time is here. Mike Valeni and I are going through every matchup of the big dance over on the podcast. We're talking sides, totals, mix in a reckless parlay every now and then. Come on, it's fun. We've got tourney trends, futures plays, who wins the national title, something for every bettor and every sports fan. Region by region, game by game, however you want to digest it, it's there. Download Cash the Ticket today. It's on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Heard the catchphrase that's sweeping the nation?
Jackson, Hugh, yeah.
People are saying Jackson Hugh yeah to Jackson Hewitt because they love saving money on tax prep. Do you love saving money? Then switch to Jackson Hewitt today and pay less than last year. Thousands of people have already made the switch. Why haven't you? Stop waiting and start filing. You won't get a better deal or a better catchphrase. All together now.
Jackson Hugh, yeah!
Proof of prior year payment required when filing. New clients only at participating locations through April 7th. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
Look around. You can buy cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car right in your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Oh, okay, take it easy. We're going in the air.
This is Sports Daily on KFH.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily. Let's give away some HTO here as we begin this segment. So I told you earlier, it is buy one, get one half off for caramel macchiatos today. So you have to get in there and try that. Now featuring the new Free Reign coffee. A great promo today. We're going to give you a chance to win a free coffee and a free iced tea. The iced teas, more than 25 flavors, including the all-new Strawberry Passion. That is available at either the East or West Wichita location or in Derby. Also in Derby and at the East location, we'll get you a free coffee card featuring that Free Reign coffee. That is good for those two locations. So good luck, everybody. First caller to the KFH hotline will win that prize right now. 869-1240. Chad will get us a winner. Good luck. See if we can get some HTO on us here at KFH. Paul, we'll keep our eye on this Jerome Tang thing. You've got Marquise Noel's brother chiming in now. There's a lot of smoke right now to follow, so we'll do that closely. We'll take a brief pause from it, though. You sent me this. I actually sent you this, and then you kind of sent it back to me. We've both seen this. We talked about it briefly yesterday. I would be interested in your take on this. So one of the ideas being floated around by college football's power brokers, according to multiple reports now, are that they're thinking about this Super League. Now, when I first see that headline, I shudder because that's been my fear. But that was a fear that the SEC and the Big Ten would do this. This proposal would actually have basically all of the schools that are in what remains as like the Power Four, like 70 of them in a Super League that operates independently from the NCAA. And then you would have the rest of the schools that aren't in there playing for a spot in that group. You know, those 70 would get a guaranteed spot. And then it'd almost be like European soccer, where you'd have teams play their way in, teams get knocked out, relegation type stuff. I don't think that's the perfect answer. I will say this, though, Paul. If every conversation around a Super League is beginning with essentially those 70 schools or those schools that remain in the power leagues currently, I'm going to be more okay with that, because my fear has always been that, for instance, the Big 12 gets left out of that. If that's not happening for football's sake, and really this only pertains to football as far as this conversation for me goes, I'm probably okay with that. If everybody's included in the ability to play for the national championship, of those leagues, I think we're going to be okay in college football. The rest are just details to be worked out. The greatest danger to me, and I've said this a billion times, is that you would have only like the SEC and the Big Ten playing for one title, and then everybody else would be playing. It would kill college football. If you do this, I mean, this is essentially what we have anyway, isn't it, Paul?
Right.
It's really only the power conference teams playing for a title, truly. And you'd have every once in a while a team like Cincinnati a few years ago that becomes a Cinderella team. You'd still have the ability to have that. I think seeing this story, while it's, I think, creating a lot of panic for some people, actually kind of gives me hope for the future because the future's coming.
Right. And the good news is that you'll probably get rid of the NCAA. And so that's
in football.
In football. I'm talking football only now, but you'll probably get rid of the NCAA. They'll have nothing more to say, which I'm not so sure is all a bad thing. Now, things can be done with basketball. And I know in the past you have expressed concerns about, well, the games like the wonderful victories by the Oaklands of the world, for instance. Those are the kind of situations in basketball. We don't want to get away from those, do we? I mean, that is part of the charm of tuning in on the first weekend of the National Basketball Tournament. Now, that's the fun part of it. But
it is the reason we love the tournament, Paul. Right. NC State, a middling ACC team, and you know, for most of the season. A middling ACC team for most of the season would have like almost zero chance.
That's right.
To win a football national championship.
That's right.
So it's not like it's just the sport is more conducive to it.
Right. Right.
And so, yeah, it's fine. You definitely don't want to lose that. That's the charm of that tournament.
Right.
You don't have that in football anyway.
Right. But we're talking now about the possibilities of seeing them. Remember a few years back when Boise State was kind of the talk of sports talk radio, and Boise State this and Boise State that, and the charm of the blue, the blue surface on that they play football. Yep. I mean, there's a lot that could be happening. You're still, and of course the hopes would be that there will still be those Goliath moments where Goliath is slain
taken down by David. Sure. Boise State beats Oklahoma. It's one of the great football games we've ever seen.
And that's the cool thing. And that's where they're trying to get.
Yeah, and they would relegate teams in. So like Boise would still have the ability to be in this, but if they were really bad, they could get relegated out of this. And I don't know why that's important, but I do know that it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
And I'll tell you what, the big boys are still going to have a certain advantage because even though there's still 80 teams going in, go with the potential, it's going to be a situation where probably the first round or two, those games are going to have to be played at somebody's home field. And more than likely, we obviously know that it'll probably be the higher seed, which means you're going to see the games being played at Michigan and Ohio State and Georgia. There are going to be some teams that are going to have to go into those kind of places. You're not going to go to, I'm guessing you're not going to go to, equal sites, maybe a Dallas or, wherever you go for these games, Detroit for a game off of everybody's campus. That won't happen. But still, it's to the right direction. I read this last article, and I haven't seen any updates that you're talking about, but the article that I read yesterday, I thought it was very interesting, and I'll be real truthful. I'm kind of liking it. It seems fairer than it's the proposal of the SEC.
Yeah, it's not perfect. It's not going to be the one.
Oh, yes.
Look, the key is that all of the power conference teams are included, guaranteed included.
Right.
That's the only thing to me that matters in the takeaway. I don't think this is going to be the one that sticks necessarily. And I don't even think they're to the point where they have it figured out that far. But I think in general terms and in the idea of what will happen, because ultimately it's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. Players are going to get paid. They've got to figure out how to do this because they keep losing these court battles. That's all coming. If in the end game, as long as the teams that have always been in the power leagues are still in the mix here, the sport itself, Paul, will stay strong.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gone over it time and time again why, if that doesn't happen, it's going to be so detrimental to the sport, because it doesn't have the national appeal that the NFL has. And for so long, I think there's been this thought, and we see it in these TV deals, which are the most complicated part about these changes, by the way. But, I think there's this belief that college football is on its national brand. College football is very much regionally relevant, that keeps it nationally interesting, but it's not the same as the NFL. We are not as locked into a bottom tier Big Ten game as we are into a bad Thursday night football game from the NFL, where we kind of just watch it anyway, right? It's not the same thing.
No, that's
so
right.
you have to have the entire country at least have interest in these games. And the only way to do that is to have the entire country follow teams that are competing for the same prize at the end of it.
Right.
That's the only way to do it. So the danger of the sport was excluding large swaths of the country from a playoff. If you put in 70 teams and they're all playing for it every year anyway, not much, I don't think, is going to change for the fans. Now, rivalries would die in this model. So in the model that I saw, you'd have like 10, I think it was 10 7-team divisions, and we'd see the end of some traditional rivalries. That would suck. That would. But new rivalries can be created. I mean, that part of it isn't fun, and I don't know exactly how they'd be able to do that. They would maintain some and do everything else. This is all big picture. I don't think we're anywhere near this, Paul, because you've got TV deals now that have to be played out. Like, I don't think, unless they get in so much legal trouble that they can't function and they will go bankrupt, which is, I suppose, possible.
Yeah.
I don't think these are like next year, 2 years. I think these are like, probably 6 to 10 years down the road.
I didn't realize. I did not realize it was that far out. And you're the TV guy.
Well,
I mean,
but
you know a lot
I
more
just
about
mean
this than I do,
because
but-
what I don't know enough to make that as
okay.
I just am saying, like, you still would have to navigate the existing TV deals if you were going to blow this up, because the existing TV deals exist within the frames of conferences right now.
Right.
So
okay.
if you're gonna get rid of that model, how do you then handle these massive TV contracts? I mean, we know how challenging it is to buy out of those. Just ask the ACC right now. So, it's not like they could just snap their fingers and this happens tomorrow. It's way more complicated than that. But I think it's at least the beginning ideas of where this may head when that time does come, which is anybody's guess as far as that goes, because it would get into negotiations and buyouts and those types of things.
Right. And I like the way you phrased it a little earlier in this conversation where teams, 80 teams, that's a good amount of teams. You're going to see conferences like the AAC. You're going to see the Mountain West. You're going to see some, and I don't know how far it'll go. I don't know if it's going to be like, Conference USA or whatever the offshoot of the Conference USA is now. Sometimes I have a hard time keeping track of everything that's going on with the conferences. But you know what I'm saying? As long as we see some of those teams have a shot, I mean, that would then take care of, 3 years ago when Cincinnati was really good. And I mean, they were good. You watch them at all and you know how good they were. And they were so good in football a few years ago. That helped them really get to the Big 12, get that invite to the Big 12. And so that's pretty cool. But we see those kind of teams, those teams that come along in the Rocky Mountain, or not Rocky, but in the Mountain West and in the AAC. Those teams will get a shot. Those really good teams that come along for some reason, they will have their shot. And man, that's all we're asking, isn't it? Jacob, that's all we're asking. That's
all you need.
That they be included. We understand.
At least the perception of a shot, right? Like even if it's not in reality, you just need to think you've got a shot for it to really matter.
That's a good point. I'm with you on that. But I'll tell you what, that's just sort of the American way. They get a shot. And by the way, wouldn't shock me if someday somebody upsets somebody in some sort of 80 teams tournament that will go.
You and I both believe that the field is evening a little bit in college football through NIL. I think it's more even than it ever has been. There's still dominant teams, of course, but there are more good teams, I think, that are beginning to find their way through it.
And you can get better
869-1240. Go ahead, Paul.
And NIL
immediately.
allows
TCU
you to
made. TCU made a national championship
go.
game doing just that.
There you go.
They
That-
really
there you
did.
go.
We'll see. Colorado is going to be the litmus test of that this year, by the way.
Oh, well, boy,
we'll see.
With Dion, who knows what's going to happen? You know, they're
top
going to
transfer portal class in the country.
You got it. You're with me on that. I got you.
We'll see how that. I don't know what that means, but we're going to find out.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come back. I want to talk the Royals a little bit. Another nice performance, another good starting pitching performance. Things are taking upward for Kansas City, even though the wins haven't all been there. Thanks a lot, bullpen. Royals, I think they're probably going to be pretty good this year, Paul. We'll get Paul's take on that. Your comments. Congratulations to our Win Surge contest winners. Congratulations to our HTO contest winners. It's always fun on a Friday. We'll be back more Sports Daily right after this. All right, welcome back in, everybody. Sports Daily. Glad to be with you here on this Friday edition. Let's talk a little baseball, Paul.
All righty.
Your home for the Kansas City Royals is right here on
here.
KFH. You'll hear him twice this weekend. You'll hear him at 6 o'clock on Saturday, 1 o'clock on Sunday. And, Paul, the Royals are pretty good. They finally get a little schedule relief here with the White Sox, so they need to take advantage of that. Seth Lugo, very good last night. Again, 6 2/3, just a run allowed, a couple walks. Didn't strike a bunch of guys out, but he got through it. The bullpen with a sizable lead after the seventh, right? They scored 8 runs in the bottom of the seventh. They sort of took it out of the bullpen's hand at that point. But Zerpa gave him another nice performance. Lyles continues to be a piece. I liked seeing, and look, roles changed when they got that kind of a lead. But what I think we've got to pay attention to is a team that is getting this kind of starting pitching, which we're now into our second turn in the rotation, and it continues to look awesome. Brady Singer, all eyes on him tonight. But when we're seeing that in the offense, MJ Melendez is sort of coming back into form. Like there's a lot to be excited about, except the bullpen. We saw different guys in different roles last night because the game got to such a big lead. But I do think it's important to see just which pitchers in the bullpen are getting outs. Paul, I ran this yesterday on TV. Listen to this. So before yesterday's game, this is before the game, because this is when I did these numbers. The Royals bullpen right now, but again, before yesterday's game, had given up twice as many runs as the starters in less than half the innings. Twice as many runs allowed in less than half the innings pitched. I mean, it has been awful in the bullpen. More hits. They weren't striking anybody out. They've walked more people. Bad, except for a couple of guys. Mm-hmm. So as we look at this, and the Royals are going to need to win these games and try to navigate what looks to be like a underwhelming bullpen, I do think it's important when you get a blowout game like yesterday and different players are put into the roles. We haven't really seen in those roles Sauer, Zerpa, Lyles. Those guys come out and they give you good innings. They give you good pitches. Maybe think about throwing them in next time when you don't have a big lead, when you got a small lead, you're trying to protect something. And, maybe different roles change, but they have to figure this stuff out now, because this does appear, Paul, to be a pretty good baseball team.
It does. And not only with the pitching, which is, I'm taking it you're a little bit surprised. I think I'm a little bit surprised, but also the fact that the bats seem to be alive. Bobby Witt, my goodness, batting 429. I mean, come on now. And Salvi still batting 345, 3 home runs. And Garcia, 267, another 3 home run guy. I guess Salvi's got 2 home runs, but I mean, there's
Garcia's we've talked about him. Paul.
Go ahead.
Garcia could be a real key to this whole thing.
He might be,
because
why I bring him up.
If he develops at the top of that lineup, I mean, we're still waiting on Vinny Pasquantino, but I mean, MJ Melendez. Nobody was thinking MJ Melendez was going to be a big, going to do a whole lot. So there are a lot of little things, and lineups get hot. I don't want to, overanalyze that.
Right.
The far bigger storyline right now, Paul, is the starting pitching, which continues to be. The starting pitching has essentially had 1 bad inning all season so far. That's it. Walker had 1 bad inning for the entire season so far.
So far.
We're a turn and a half through that rotation now.
Right.
So it is, and it's not like, we don't know if Brady Singer's going to hold through, but the reality of it is we saw Cole Reagan's last year. We know he's got it, right? Lugo, Waka, they've been doing this a very long time. So there's 4 of them, 4 out of the 5. I don't know about Alec Marsh. I mean, jury's out there, but if you've got 4 out of 5 that are good, like if Brady Singer develops and those other 3, you're pretty confident in what you're going to get. This is a team that can win a lot of games this year. That's to think about that from where they were as a 56-win team last year. I mean, just Paul, we're 7 games in, but it's glaringly obvious this team is significantly better than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. There have been years, and let's say over the last 10 years, well, let's say at least since World Series years, there have been times where about this part of the season, we start dropping off our conversation with regards to the Royals, because it's obvious that They're outclassed with talent. We can see that where this is going.
There have been recent Aprils where it was like, all right, well,
so
we'll see you next year. Right?
And then in the summertime, you and I and Tommy as well, all of a sudden we go a whole show. We don't even bring up the Royals. And now here we are. We're going to go a whole segment with the Royals. What does that tell you about where we're at with the Royals, how much better they are, both the potential of the pitching staff and where we are with regards to offensive baseball? And it's day and night, and we're talking about it, and we're talking about it with glee, and we're talking about it with the chance to see this team really do something. And it's so fun and it's so unique. And I don't know if this has anything to do with the stadium situation. I doubt it. Of course, it really doesn't. But, in light of what's going on with the stadium and their set of problems that they have, the K is still a great place to go watch a ball game. And I think you and I would both encourage everybody, get out and support the Royals. Go have some fun at the K. It's still a great place to go and have fun with the family. But anyway, it's really fun to be able to talk about the Royals, and particularly guys like Bobby Witt. I mean, when we start bringing up Bobby Witt, we're talking about one of the guys in Major League Baseball. Bobby Witt's a big deal. Salvy's
top 5 for sure.
Salvy's a big deal. Salvy is going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. You know how I feel about that.
I know you do. All right. But anyway, the point is that there's a lot to talk about right now. I don't know if this is going to die off in the month of May. We'll find out. But we're in April, and we're talking about them.
And a lot, and rightfully so.
And a lot.
Because I do think this team has a chance to be a good baseball team. A contending baseball team. I love that. Love it. By the way, again, you can hear the Royals games with us on KFH. They will be tomorrow night, because we've got Shocker baseball tonight that sort of interferes. So tomorrow night, you'll get the first pitch at 6. Sunday, you'll have it at 1 o'clock. We'll tell you what else is coming up on the networks and put a bow on this thing here as we make our way through the final segment of a Sports Daily.
Some people just know there's a better way to do things, like bundling your home and auto insurance with Allstate, or hiring someone to move your piano instead of doing it yourself. So, do things the better way. Bundle home and auto and save up to 25% with Allstate.
Bundled savings vary by state and are not available in every state. Saving up to 25% is the countrywide average of the maximum available savings of the home policy. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Thinking about a bathroom remodel? You should consider the Onyx Collection from Superior Plumbing. Whether it's a standard or a custom shower design, the team at Superior Plumbing can assist you in creating the perfect new bathroom. Oh, and the Onyx Collection is guaranteed forever and made right here in Kansas. Visit the Superior Plumbing showroom at 6837 East Harry today.
Superior Plumbing will come running, cause we care, treat you fair and square. And our name says it all, Superior. Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 550-0000.
I'm attorney Ben Winters with Patterson Legal Group. After being hurt in a car wreck, you need to hire the right attorney. How do you find the right attorney? You look for one that has experience and, most importantly, results. Patterson Legal Group has recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for injured people. In a wreck, need a check? Call us today.
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 550-0000.
Baseball fans, support your hometown Shockers this spring. With new head coach Brian Green, the Shockers are playing an exciting brand of baseball, and new enhancements to the outfield experience on Coleman Hill at X Stadium have turned each game into a can't-miss event. Bring in a cooler filled with your own food and beverages out to Coleman Hill for a fun and cheap outing at the ballpark. Select alcoholic beverages are permitted. Restrictions apply, and fans must be 21 to drink. View upcoming games and grab your tickets today. Visit GoShockers.com/tickets or call 316-978-FANS.
Wouldn't it be nice to feel in control of all aspects of your retirement planning? Having a team looking out for you and with you to cover all the bases? At Market Advisory Group, we have that team, with professionals guiding the way through the aspects of financial, estate, tax, and Medicare planning, all under one roof. Learn more and even schedule a review of your current plan with us at marketadvisorygroup.com.
Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Come and enjoy a free birthday boil at Hook and Reel. Valid only with a minimum of a 2-entree purchase, proof of ID, and also valid 3 days before and 3 days after birthday. Located in Town East Parking Lot, East Kellogg.
Every day when we're on the road, people around us engage with themselves and others by looking at their phones while driving. There is the sneaker peeker who darts their eyes between the road and their texts, or the nightlighter who illuminates their car after dark. If that's you, reconsider before you find yourself becoming the fender benderer, the got a ticket-er, or worst of all, the driver who killed someone. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888. That's 888-8888.
Minor League Baseball here in town. It's opening day weekend for the Wichita Wind Surge, their fourth season as AA affiliate of the Minnesota Twins. 3-game series this weekend at Riverfront Stadium downtown, hosting Frisco Rough Riders. 7 o'clock tonight, post-game fireworks. 6 o'clock tomorrow evening with a hat giveaway, and then 1 o'clock on Sunday as the Wichita Wind Surge gets the season going. Indoor soccer, the Wichita Wings are hosting the League National Finals Tournament, the MASL2. 7 teams here in town, and the winner on Sunday wins the league championship at Hartman Arena in Park City. 3 games on tap today, finishing out with primetime game at 7 o'clock tonight. The Wichita Wings hosting Atletico Orlando. All games are on YouTube. By the time the weekend is over, 3 wins get you the league championship in the MASL2. And happy birthday tomorrow to Wichita treasure Bucky Walters. Back in the day, one of the great baseball players here in this town. Bucky Walters turning 85 tomorrow. I'm Ted the Sports Head.
The number one rated sports radio in Wichita is 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
That'll do it for a Friday. Paul, always appreciate it. That's a fun show today.
Yeah, had a good time. Have a good weekend, my friend.
Yep, keep an eye on that Jerome Tang, Arkansas stuff. We'll certainly do that, react to it next week. Hey, coming up this weekend, tonight you have Wichita State baseball locally at 5:15. You'll have Bob and Jeff 2 to 4. Shocker baseball at 12:45 tomorrow. Royals at 6. Shocker baseball at 10:45 on Sunday. Royals at 1. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you Monday.